Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Living Today. We are slightly tardy just because, I was kind of hamming it up with my brothers. But anyway, good evening, everybody, and welcome to Living Today. This is your host, the CEO and founder of Irons Group LLC, and welcome to Friday Night Highlights. This is where we inspire and empower school leaders and C-suite executives to find themselves authentically, develop their purpose, leverage their strengths, sharpen their skills through perseverance, passion, and teamwork. And tonight we are still talking about getting your financial houses in order. And for the past few weeks, we've had different guests on that we're highlighting in the financial world. And we've talked to a banker. We've talked to someone from I Fund Women. We've talked to people about, I think we had someone on about talking about your credit score and getting your credit right. And tonight, I have two of my brothers on here, Mr. Leon Noble and Brent Simpson, talking to you about investing. So how many of you out there are afraid of investing? Know nothing about investing? Is a little leery about investing? Is curious about investing? I don't know. Well, tonight's your night to kind of learn a lot more about it. So welcome, Leon, and welcome, Brent. Brent's a little bit of a veteran. He's been here before. So say hi to the people, Brent.
Hello, everybody. And first, Sharice, thank you so much for having me on again. Your community, I can see, is growing. And to be a part of that is absolutely a pleasure. So hello, everyone, again. And thank you for welcoming myself and Leon back.
And this being my first time, I want to say thank you for having me on. And hello, everyone that's part of your community.
Well, thank you, guys. So listen, before we start talking, because we could do that, I'm going to introduce you to both of these gentlemen here. I'm going to read their bios, and then we're going to get into some questions. So Brent Simpson is a serial entrepreneur, internationally sought after speaker and podcast guest, creative problem solver, international growth strategist, sales trainer, and negotiation specialist who loves working with new entrepreneurs like myself, turning their passion into a business, career changers interested in starting a business, and retirees like myself who are ready to make their dreams into a reality. And then Leon is the co-founder and head of content and research at Investing Education Academy. IEA is a membership-based investing community focused on stock market investing and off-market private equity deals. Leon is also the co-founder of Investor IQ, a cloud-based stock research and data analytics platform. And prior to co-founding the aforementioned companies, Leon was a full-time futures and options investor. Leon started his professional career as a software developer with Accenture and later a business/technical analyst at Booz Allen Hamilton. Okay, so listen, people, they smart, okay? I'm just saying. Ain't nothing like some smart Black brothers. Put it out there, said it, had to say it. It's just what it is. Okay, so listen, these two guys are and have been. One of the things I found very interesting, I was telling Leon earlier that had I seen that photo that I saw on the IEA Academy, it was this photo, you guys, when you get a chance, go check it out. If I'd have seen that photo, that would have been the photo that was on the graphic that I created for you all. Because they've been best friends since they were 9 years old. And you guys have been friends forever. So for those of you who are out there, if you're just jumping on, welcome to the community. But what I wanted to say is this, before we even get into talking about, and you guys have talking at all, is friendships, relationships, partnerships. It's very important that people understand that that's so important when you have a good friend and a relationship that lasts a long time. It's such a cool and amazing thing. So let me just have you guys just welcome. I'm excited. Can you tell? Okay. So Leon, let me just start with you by asking you, one of the first questions I always like to ask my guests is 2020, the year that nobody ever wants to talk about, but I like to talk about it. So let's talk a little bit about your wins and learns for last year. Tell us a little bit about 2020 for you, what that was like.
So 2020 was actually a great year for myself, as well as some aspects also for Brent. So year started out terribly for me. Actually totaled my car on January 31st of the year. Got hit by a drunk driver. Then a week later, Kobe Bryant died. So it was just kind of like, like the year started off, how the year, how the year actually went, but it ended up being really good. So that's how the year started. And then Brent and I kind of the whole idea behind Investing Education Academy we had for years. And during the pandemic, we kind of came back together, threw some ideas together, kind of rehashed some old things we had talked about before. And we formed IEA on April 1st. And it's been a whirlwind since then. It's totally taken off way more than we thought it would. So from that respect, for me professionally, it was a great year. I mean, the year sucked. I mean, like for most people, because stuck in the house, people are dying. A horrific year, but professionally, it was actually a great year for myself.
Good. What about personally, or anything like that? Was there any kind of like personal challenges that you had in terms of 2020?
Just kind of dealing with the more on the personal side is more with the COVID things. Like I've had family members, I've had close friends, people that I know get the disease and die from it. So that was more the personal side. As far as investing on the personal side, I've really refined my strategy, and I've really gotten it to the point where I'm extremely happy with it. So that was kind of like a personal thing I've been struggling with for the past couple of years, that I really think I tightened up and got under control in 2020.
Okay, awesome. Brent, same question for you. Wins and learns for 2020.
I think the win is learning that I'm stronger than what I thought I was. And, for a while, I wondered if something tragic happened, could I survive it? Could my businesses survive it? What would be my pivot? Everybody pivot. Like that's the famous word for 2020, right? Everybody watching pivot. Like we, pivot in stress. Like, how do we pivot? What happens with the kids? What happens with the household? What happens with bills? What happens with mortgage? And so for me, having March the 13th through the end of March really show where we were headed for the rest of the year, the business grew. I couldn't believe business grew. And then, with Leon and I, a lot of people started coming to us with these questions like, oh my gosh, the market's crashing. We're going to lose everything. And it more so I wouldn't say a win, but it was confirmation that Leon and I, number one, believe in the market very similarly. And then two, we weren't hot-headed or overly emotional people, which was greater confirmation that we could go into business together. And, after 30 years of friendship, you already know, 30 plus, but you already know, but it's always different when you do business together. And you always have that concern, like, will the business either push us away from each other or bring us closer together? And I definitely think this business has brought us closer together. So that's my win. Having the business bring us back into an ecosystem where we start talking every day again. Because with normal life happening, those friendships, although they still mean the same thing to you, you don't talk as much because you're working. You don't talk as much because you're pursuing your endeavor. But when your endeavor is with the person that's your best friend, you get to talk all the time. So that's the big win.
That's huge. I love
Agreed.
that.
I second that.
That's great. I love that, because I think that you want to work with people that give you you feel comfortable with, you get like a little bit of an ease, and it's fun. I'm sure you guys have a lot of fun together. I watch your lives and stuff. You guys, I'm sure, have a lot of great fun together. Yeah. So you guys said that, I've seen a lot of different things going on in terms of, the stock market, investing, all these different things. And I'm sure there are people on here who may not be comfortable with that. So you guys started IEA. You said it was something that was in your lives for a long time. Why investing? Why are you guys so into this stuff? I mean, come on, guys. This is not exactly like dinner time conversation.
Bring what? Give it a story.
Yeah, I give you the abbreviated story. Leon and I always had an entrepreneurial spirit. Leon's family, Kingston, Guyana. It's in my family, DC. I said Kingston, Guyana. It should be Jamaica, Guyana, right?
Jamaica and Guyana, yeah.
Yeah, like why would I say that? And so anyway, that work ethic was there. Like I saw his dad, growing up, like working and investing and being entrepreneur slash like employee space. And for us, we started to pick that up. My dad was an entrepreneur as well. And, you know, we started having that spirit. So we started selling candy. And we were selling candy because I went to a track meet once. And I came back and I started selling candy. And I was like, little Leon, we go to these track meets. They're like 20 hours long. Nobody has any money, but everybody's hungry. And I was like, if we can get some more candy, I can start selling it to different track meets and so forth. And he agreed. And so we started selling candy. But then it was like, if we can have more people selling candy for us, we can actually make more money. But this is why I realized we were different than most. At age 15 or so, we actually wrote contracts. And everybody who took a bag of candy had to sign a contract stating their percentage return on that bag of candy and agree to the terms of how we would calculate how much we would pay them.
Okay.
Yeah. And then we learned that Costco was like the epicenter of candy. And so we walked in Costco and we were like, oh my, this is where it comes from. Like, this is where it comes from. And so we didn't have to buy a secondhand anymore. We can go straight to the supplier, right? And so instead of going to like Highs, you know, the local convenience store back then, or if you're a bodega, I know you have a huge population in New York. Instead of going there and buying the candy that's already marked up, we found Costco. And we were like, yo, this is it. And so we realized, and I'll just tell this, a box of blow pops back then cost $5.99. There were 100 blow pops in that box of blow pops. At 25 cents per blow pop, we were making $25 a box. We only paid $6 for the box. That's over 100% return on investment, and we were 15 years old. It was the best thing ever. So we were at a friend's house, Dad's Jamaican, and he came downstairs. We had like custom clothes. We had our clothes like tailored, and he came downstairs like, "What do you guys do?" And we were like, "We can sell candy." And we both worked at a local grocery store bagging groceries for people. And he said, "Well, what are you going to do with your money when you get older?" I don't know. Make more. Make more.
Buy more candy to sell.
Yeah. And he sent us to his financial advisor, which is the best, worst thing that could have ever happened to us. That guy had no idea what he was doing. And he put two 15-year-olds, it's 16 at that time, but by that time, we were 16 and had some money to invest. He put us into mutual funds and whole life insurance. And it was like the two worst products you could have put two 15-year-olds in who had money. And that's when we started going down that path of understanding money, understanding the market, because we start reading the newspaper to see how the investment was doing. But to get to mutual funds, you have to go past all these stocks. And we noticed those numbers are higher than these numbers. And every time, because it wasn't the internet back then, so we had to go to the paper to see what our investment was doing. But again, that was the best thing that could have ever happened, because it forced us to go past all these stocks and then look at these mutual funds that were moving way slower. So that's what led us to the investing and getting into the stock market. It's a little more complex, but that's the abbreviated version.
That's pretty cool. So let me ask you something. Where did you go to? Where did you guys end up going in terms of your colleges and stuff? I know kind of Brent, I know where you kind of went. So Leon, I know you have the investor IQ. So how did you guys go from being teenagers selling, these candies and then invest, learning about the stock market to then I know you have the investor IQ. How did that develop into Booz Allen and all these other things? So talk a little bit about that.
Well, so I went to Howard University out of high school. Just say I was way too immature to be going to Howard University. So went to Howard. After about 3 years, I essentially failed out because I was having way too much fun. Eventually went to community college and finished at University of Maryland. But that whole time, Brent and I are still investing, right? We're still in the stock market. We're still, buying and selling stocks. We're still doing research. Like we still love this game. And then so, after I finished college, went and worked in corporate America. Again, still investing, so trading. And we kind of split at one point where I went down the avenue really, really hardcore in options, particularly options on futures. Whereas Brent he was actually a licensed stockbroker. So he really stayed in kind of the stockbroker, more financial advisement world. So we kind of split at that point. That was after college when we kind of started our professional careers. But again, we're still in the same space of investing, right? Mine was a little more risky and a lot faster moving than the stock market. And And I learned I lost a lot of money. Trust me, I lost a lot of money doing futures and options, but I also made a lot of money. Lost a lot of money. But eventually, I figured it out. Made a lot of money. Not a lot. I made some good money where I could support myself. And then in 2018, Brent and I and another gentleman, we got together. We started to put together the IEA concept. This is us like coming back together now. After Brent had done his thing in the financial advisement world, I was doing my thing in the futures and options world. We kind of came back together. Brent let his license lapse, so he was able to like kind of talk about things freely. We kind of came to the idea of IEA, and that's what I'm saying. 2018, we started it, but life happened. We really couldn't get it together at the time, and then we kind of split there again. Brent was doing his thing, I was doing my thing, and then 2020 we came back together. Pandemic hit, and everything's kind of history from there. That's when we started IEA. But I will say, for me, and it's kind of a personal thing, I learned a whole, like I will say this about investing. It's about anything in life, really. You learn a lot more from your losses than your wins. I learned a ton, because I lost a lot of money. Like I hurt myself considerably learning how to invest in options and in futures. But it's gotten me where I am today. And I'm very, very, very comfortable in my own skin, talking about this subject, and the particular type of investing that I do now. I'm really, really comfortable. So that's kind of like our split and kind of a lesson learned for me through that journey.
Okay, so I heard you say that you guys had a dream, okay, when you were young. Somebody planted a seed in you, okay, about investing. You had this idea, IEA. You had this idea. You kind of try to work it a couple times, kept separating, try to work it again, kept separating, and bam, here we are. We had a crisis happen, right? And
Right.
So now we've started IEA. So my question to you guys is this: why do you care so much? I mean, you guys could have just done IEA or done your own thing, continue to do your own thing, invest on your own. But why is this such a big deal for you all to do Investing Education Academy and help the community to kind of share your knowledge?
Well, for both of us, we've always been proponents of sharing what we know or the information or the blessings that we have, right? I mean, even if you look back to the candy story, we had other people selling because we made money that way, but also they made money they otherwise wouldn't have made. And and it's so many other things we've done in between there, mentoring, working with our friends. But for me particularly in this round, I think I'll say Leon too. This was the moment where with COVID, no one knew what tomorrow was going to bring. And no one really knew where their money was going to land. And, before that, people were working, everybody was okay. But your money being your employee wasn't at the forefront of people's thoughts. And when COVID hit for us, if we didn't help our friends make their money their employees, then they may not have made it through COVID because we didn't know they would keep their job or not or lose their job. So it was our responsibility to make sure our friend circle was okay. And then it bled out to, well, if we're having this conversation with them anyway, we can talk to 20 people or one person the same way. So let's just open up where we can talk to 20 people. Because when we first launched Investing Education Academy, the membership to become a member was $65 for the year. And clearly that's not two individuals trying to kill it. Like it was $65 for the year. And we were putting out content at least weekly at that time, probably at least twice or three times a week. And so for me, God put me on this earth to touch as many people as I can in a positive light before I die. I know my mission. I know my purpose. And I can only do that by releasing the information inside me to the general population. And two, if we can help our community, and Leon probably will give you the stats on where the Black community is in regards to investing, it was unacceptable. The fear that the African-American community has around the stock market is unacceptable. The education that Black people have around savings accounts and these so-called safe investments is drastically skewed towards the negative. Savings accounts are awful. And, people don't know how to explain why without seeming like they're just taking a position and they just don't like savings accounts. And we understand the math behind it. And Leon Leon can talk to some of that, but essentially we wanted our information to make the world a better place. And if I can, like Leon said, he's comfortable in his skin because he knows every single day he's working in IEA, he's putting information out that's going to make not only that one person's life better, but the entire family if they institute it. And we've made millionaires inside the platform. But again, he'll touch on the statistics and why we do what we do.
Well, you said something that was key, Brent. And if you guys are just joining us, I am interviewing Leon Noble and Brent Simpson from the Investing Education Academy. They are Friday night highlights, servant leader highlights for tonight. Thank you so much for joining us. You said something that was key. You said you want people to learn how to make money their employee. So you get to tell your money what to do versus your money telling you what to do.
Yes.
Very important. If you didn't catch that point, make sure that you get that point. Watch it on the replay. Do something with it. But that's a very key point that Brent just made. So, Leon, since Brent brought it up, can you just give us a couple of stats about that data that Brent was talking about? Why are people so afraid of the stock market, investing? Because I know IEA focuses on not just the stock market. You guys do stock market, real estate, entrepreneurship. You teach people how to do more than just one thing. Well, what is the data? Just give us a little bit of a stats.
Yeah. So the worst. So when we started this in April, we were doing some light research. Again, we were figuring it out, right? We started April 1st. We were just like, okay, we're going to take incremental steps. And when George Floyd happened in May, I think the end of May. Again, as Brent said, it was really low prices. We were saying, look, even before George Floyd, even before we found the information, we was like, we need to get this information out there because again, our friends and our family were coming to us asking these questions. So like Brent said, if we could talk to one person or 300 people, it's so much easier to talk to, a large group of people and get that information out there. But when George Floyd happened, we dug a little deeper and said, okay, where do black people, where do we actually stand in the realm of investing, especially with the stock market? And what we found was staggering. And we found that black wealth in America just caught up to white wealth as it was back in 1962. So we're talking, 60 plus years that black wealth is behind white America. And in that research, we also found that on average, white America earns 139% more on their money than black America. Again, the point Brent was making is that, as he said, we as black people need to get our minds away from savings accounts and into investments that actually pay us and not that lose us money. The reason why I say loses money is because right now in the United States, the average interest rate on a savings account is 0.05%. Let me say that again. 0.05% is the average savings account interest rate in America. Now, people are making more than that. Some people are making 1.5%. Some people are making less, but that's the average. And what you have to understand is that inflation on average is 2 to 3% per year. So you're essentially losing money every day. Well, okay, not money. You're losing buying power. Your money's losing buying power every day that it's sitting in a savings account because you're only being paid 0.05%, but inflation is eating away at that money at 2 to 3% per year. And this is the problem with our community is that we feel like, oh, that money is safe. Oh, that money cannot be touched in a savings account. What they don't realize is, no, that money sitting in a savings account is actually losing you money, losing you buying power every single day. So it's not safe. It's far from safe. It's getting eaten away daily.
And Leon, real quick, let me jump in because you said something I want everybody to pay attention to. He said that the money, you feel like your money's safe because it's there and you're losing buying power. We have to stop looking at buying power as if it's invisible. And we see the same dollar amount. We see, $3,000, $100,000, $1 million, whatever's in your savings account. You see the number. And you think because the number hasn't changed, your money is safe. Your buying power is the termites behind the wall. It's just eating away at the foundation. And you think, well, the house is still here until it just crumbles. So that is such a false sense of reality when you see the number hasn't changed and you're not paying attention to what Leon said, your buying power has been reduced.
Yeah, an example of that is like, beginning of the year, if you have $10,000, or let's just say like you have $10 in your account, January 1st, come December 31st, you'll still have roughly $10 because you're going to not make any money from the interest because you're being only paid 0.05%. So you roughly have $10. But January 1st, that loaf of bread may have cost $4, right? End of the year, that loaf of bread now costs $5. So that $10 in your account is going to buy less of that bread, 365 days later than it did the beginning of the year. So as Brent said, the money, you look at your account and say, oh, I still have $10. I didn't lose money. You didn't lose money. You lost buying power, which is actually more important than the actual dollar amount, because that money can now buy less product than it could. And that's what inflation does. Inflation is so insidious because we don't even see it, but it's just kicking our butts behind the scene, and we don't even know it because we have our money, again, sitting in a safe account versus something like the stock market that on average returns 10% per year, 12% with dividends, versus a savings account that you're, again, essentially losing money every day that it's sitting there because you're only earning 0.05%.
Wow. Well, let me just say this before we even get into if you are just joining us, thank you guys so much for joining. This is Sharice Irons coming to you live again on the Irons Group LLC page, interviewing Brent Simpson and Leon Noble. So we're talking about investing tonight, and these are my servant leader highlight guests. And so let me just say this. If you, first of all, as you can see, they are masters at this stuff, okay? And the IEA community is, I'm gonna just put up the website real quick, just because I wanna make sure that you have some info. This is the IEAmembers.com. Is that right, Brent?
That's correct.
Okay, so this community is a membership-based community. So Brent, can you speak to how you could become a member in this community?
Yeah, so we have 3 membership levels. At the base membership level, it's called community. In that community level, it gives you access to pretty much everything, like all of our topics, some of our groups, and it allows you to also ask questions, which is the most important part, right? We're talking about a community is growing to 90, probably pretty soon 100 plus. You get a lot of input, and now it's becoming more communal. And so the questions that people are putting up, you're getting perspectives that you never ever would have received before. And for our next level up, it's the insider level. With the insider level, that is where Leon and I, we have a brokerage account for IEA, and we provide updates on how we're going to be trading that brokerage account. And it's one of those things, like we've actively been going back and forth about how we're going to provide the information to the community. But that's like now it's happening. And as Leon said, he is a content king, and he loves data. So we're always putting data into the community that, you just won't curate on your own. It's very unlikely that anybody will go out and get this much information on what's going on in the stock market. In addition to that, we host, this is really a cool thing, a feature of the insiders. Once a month, insider volunteers to actually show us their investment account. They literally show us how they invest, what stocks they own, what ETFs they own. They show us their investments. I don't think you're getting that anywhere. Number one, I don't think people are, willing to do it. And that's a testament to all of our members. So if any of our members are watching this, thank you so much. We appreciate you. Because when you get to see a person's investing strategy, and they talk us through it, like, this is why I bought this is why I bought that. And Leon and I ask questions, and it's so amazing how different people invest. And we did that to take away to demystify the process that it has to be, and like everything has to be technical. Every aspect of investing it's not. Some of these people have literally just bought the stock because they use the product. Some people have just bought the stock. They heard Leon and I talk about it. Some people have bought the stock because their son, their daughter, a aunt, a cousin talked about it and they thought it'd be a good buy. Now, one of the foundations that we always say is do your research. And there's so many false prophets out there. People who stand on these soapboxes and they're like, let me show you how to convert $1 into 10 million. You're lying. You're lying, and you're trying to take people for their money. And then you get these people who are like, I made $10,000 a day. I can show you how. If you made $10,000 a day, it's highly unlikely that you would care to show anybody else how.
Right.
You're just going to keep making $10,000 a day. And so, and if you were making $10,000 a day, you want to show people, you probably will have a community that's already spreading the gospel ahead of you. If it's only you pushing it, it's probably not true. Again, a testament for the IEA membership platform is at this point, I say maybe 20% of the memberships that come in are people buying gifts for family members. And that's huge because that means they know the product and they want their family to receive what they've received. And people are buying memberships to IEA for graduations, birthday gifts. And we had a 21-year-old. This is my favorite story, everybody. Just bear with me. We had a 21-year-old whose godmother told her she would buy her IEA community membership, which is $200 for the entire year. It's still not a lot considering the information you get. $200 for the entire year, and then she would give her, I think, $500, or she can buy an insider membership, which was $4.99 at the time. This thing still is $4.99.
Yes, yeah.
And this 21-year-old chose the insider membership over getting. She already would have got the membership and $500. She forwent that and said, "You know what? I just want membership because I've heard what you said about it, and I want to learn as much as possible." That was huge.
That's huge. So she's starting off on the right foot. So listen, I wanted to just take this opportunity to tell anyone who's watching. I think you already have there's probably some members on here because someone made this comment. IEA rule number 1, make your money into employees that work for you.
Yeah, what's going on?
I'm going to assume that Nick.
Nick, yeah.
Okay. So what I wanted to say is this. I was on there and I was on the website and I was looking. You guys offer courses. You have a blog. There's a podcast. And it's a community. You guys are providing all these supports for people. You're not just like, saying, hey, join the membership and you just leave people hanging. I see you guys on Instagram. You're on Facebook. You're on LinkedIn. You're giving all kinds of supports for people about investing. So this is a point of the show where I always like to ask, my guests that I highlight to give a iron sharpening thought to people. So, you guys are out here demystifying and you're giving people, a comfort level. It's not just about the stock market. It's not just about real estate. It's not just about entrepreneurship. You're basically telling people, listen, 0.05% savings account, it's not going to really work for you.
No.
Stop. What the banker that was on here a couple weeks ago, her name is Lashaki Bronson Marcellus, and she said, scared money don't make you no money.
Mm-hmm.
So stop being scared
and
just do the daggone thing. So I wanted to just ask you guys to give our listeners an iron sharpening thought. So I think your youngest investor is 15.
12.
12, yeah.
Oh, it's changed. Okay, so 12. Yeah. And the oldest is probably, I think, a little bit of a senior. I think I saw on the website was like, I think 70 or something. So your investors are varied and whatever else in between. So what kind of tip or thought, I love iron sharpening thoughts, giving people a thought to kind of help them along with this process. What would you say? Why would it be worth it for someone to work with you guys? I know, but why would it be worth it for someone?
So I'll start. So, of course we're biased, right? We think what we provide is the best. And honestly, Brent used to work in the business. He was a financial consultant / broker. I've worked on the investment, the most risky side of investing that there is, being futures. So we have a large swath of experience and information. And I can say from my perspective, no one is offering what we offer, again, because we have such a deep knowledge in two ends. Brent was on the professional side. I was on the retail side, but on the very, very risky end of the retail side, being futures and futures options. So one that I believe worked with us. You'll get information and content like you won't find anywhere else. So that's just a plug for us. But us aside, if you don't want to come to us, go to somebody, right? Like join a Facebook group, which we also have a free Facebook group. Join a Facebook group. I know now it's hard with COVID, but join maybe a community center, maybe an investment group, like get books, do something to upgrade your investment knowledge and your investment experience. Because as I said, us as a community, our money sitting in savings accounts that's paying 0.05% is unacceptable in 2021. There's too much information out here. Literally, you can buy and sell stock from your phone on a beach. I'm not saying I recommend that, but it can be done. That's how simple it is.
Use a VPN.
Not recommended, but you can do that.
Yeah, not recommended, and get a VPN. Yes, and not recommend. But what I'm saying is that's how easy the access is now. So there's no excuse anymore for us to say, oh, I don't know anyone, I don't have any experience, I don't know how to do this. You can, I mean, again, if you don't want to join a group, just Google. Like, just go to Google, type in what you're looking for, go to YouTube. It's a lot harder doing it on your own versus a community like IAA. But if you're not going to join IAA, do something for yourself to upgrade your investment knowledge, to get your money out of savings accounts into the market or into business. Just thing that will earn you higher return than what you're getting right now in a savings account, which is losing you money every day because of inflation.
Okay. Brent, what would you say about that? Any thoughts?
Yeah, well, learn how to make your money your employee instead of being an employee making money. And so every employee is an owner, and they have employees, right? You have employees in your wallet, you have employees in your bank account, you have employees probably under the cushions in your couch. And they're either sleeping on vacation or they're somewhere just like, you know what? I don't need to work today. I'm not doing anything. And so you're a bad employer. If your money is in those places, and somebody needs to tell you that, you're a bad employer. And I think we're being too nice with each other by saying, oh, great, you know, you have everything in the savings account. Keep going. No, don't keep going. Stop. Change today. Because whatever age you are, and this should be the shock value. Let's say your savings account is at 1%. 1%, which is above the market right now.
I'm about to say that's high. That's above the average.
Yeah, above the market right now. If you take your age, everybody watching this, write down your age right now on a sheet of paper.
Oh, Lord.
If you know you have a savings account, write down your age. Everybody with the savings account, write down your age. Now, if you're getting 1% in your savings account, draw a plus sign next to your age. And then write 72 after that. And then do the math. That's how long it'll take your money to double. That's how old you'll be once your money doubles.
Wow.
Do you have that long to wait? That's it. It's a simple question. Do the math. Write down your age, write a plus sign, and then write down 72. And that's how long it will take your money to double. And so with that 72 plus your age, that's the age you will be for your money to double if you didn't add another dollar to it right now.
Wowza.
And I just want to make one last point about the savings account. So we rarely get a savings account, and we're proud to do that. However, we do know that people need money that's on demand, money that's readily available. So we're not saying don't put rainy day funds, emergency funds in a savings account. That's perfectly fine. What we're mainly talking about is your investment dollars. You should not have your investment dollars sitting in the account that's paying you 0.05%, when the stock market, again, on average, pays 10% per year, 12% per year with dividends.
Wait, Lee. Let's do this. Hold up. Everybody who wrote their age and you wrote the plus sign, now write 7.2. So your age, a plus sign, and 7.2. And then add that up. That's how long it would take your money to double on average in the stock market. That's the age you would be. Now look at those two ages. Which one do you want to be? And also too, Leon, I know I interrupt you, but I just want to give context around what you were saying.
Yeah.
The construct of the savings account is designed for emergency funds, right? So for your emergency funds, if you are single, you should have 6 months of expenses on hand in your savings account, or what's called a cash equivalent account. If you are married, the thought process is you need to have at least 3 months, thinking that the spouse will also still have income coming in. So if you're married, you should have at least 3 months of income in your savings account. If you are an entrepreneur, it is suggested that entrepreneurs have at least 6 to 8 months worth of funds in a cash equivalent account. So this is what I think separates Leon and I from most. We also know the technical side of what we're saying. So when people come to us and they're like, well, you keep saying I don't have a savings account, what do I do? And we're like, unbiased, yes, you do need to have access to emergency funds. But here's the formula for what you do and then what you do beyond that. And some people are just giving advice and they're getting you excited. But then when they were like, how do we do it? You get the deer in the headlights stare, or you get these people from different organizations saying, well, just buy term and invest the difference. But they don't know what investing the difference means. And no clue. They have never done it. They don't really know how to do it. And they haven't been in the market long enough. We've been through the stock market crash, tech crash of 2001. We've been through the mortgage crisis of 2008. We've been through, at this point, COVID. We've been through some pretty significant downfalls in the market. And I'll say last year, Leon and I, from just the stock picks we did on our Facebook Live alone, we averaged over 40% rate of return.
Yeah, so on our lives, we do every Wednesday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Brent's Facebook page. One of the things, again, giving back, because again, like I said, those numbers about where African Americans stand is just horrible. So we give 2 picks at the end of each live. And so over the last 8 months, I think we've done like close to 90 stock picks since April of last year. And on average, those have returned north of 40%. It's like 40 to 45%. Mm-hmm. And we actually have a member of ours who joined IA, I believe in October. And all she's done since she joined is just pick. And again, what our picks, they're not suggestions. They're just informational purpose only. If you want to buy them, that's great. But they're not. We're not fiduciaries. We don't. We're not saying you should buy them. But what she did was, I remember that all she did was follow our picks since October. And just in 3 or 4 months, she's had a rate of return of 63% on her money in 3 or 4 months. Now, not saying that's always going to happen, but it comes back to, again, as Brent said, we have experience. We've been through the wars of the market, and we essentially know what works, right? And I think the more important thing is we know what doesn't work. Brent, I mean, we had one of our live podcasts a while ago where Brent showed a stock he owned that literally went to zero, literally. So we've been there. We've been there, done that. We've gone through the trenches. We've learned a lot of lessons, and we try to impart those now onto our members.
Yeah, in that account where the stock went to zero, that was during one of our inside the community. We do these things where we transparent. We're like, look, for those who haven't experienced the emotion of a stock going to zero, let us tell you what it feels like and why you shouldn't do it. Right. And we're showing you our account to say it happened to us. Again, you're going back to these gurus who are out there like, yeah, I win every time. Let me show you. You don't win every time. That's not how the market is structured. You have to have a strategy to how you invest.
So, Brent, listen, someone is actually requesting. So what I'm going to ask you to do is to repeat. So somebody says, Sharice Irons, please post link and formulas in the comments. So someone wants you to repeat that formula. You know, the one you said it in the back before, the one about the adding thing. So can you just say that again?
Yes. And the basis of that is the rule of 72. So you can actually Google it. It's called the rule of 72. And essentially the rule of 72 is divide any interest rate by 72, and it tells you how long it takes your money to double. And so if at 1% divided by 72, it takes 72 years for your money to double. So if your savings account is at 1%, which is high, let me say that again, which is very high right now. But if you're getting that 1%, that means it's going to take 72 years for your money to double. Now, you take your age, whatever your age is, write a plus sign. And if you have money in a savings account that's beyond your necessary funds, like moving into that discretionary income space, you want to take your age, plus sign, and then put 72. And then that will be the age that you will attain when your money's finally doubling.
That's a long time, Brent. I'm just saying.
Yep. Contrary to that, if you take the average of the market, which is 10% since the really concept of the stock market, and you divide it by 72, it's 7.2 years. Yeah. So if you're in the market just doing basic returns, you're now that age plus 7.2 years, it looks way better. And we looked at one of my accounts that was 5 years old, and it was an account that we honestly kind of didn't check for 4 years. It's actually 7 years old. That account had a rate of return of 514%.
And that account was in the stock market.
Yeah, in the stock market. Wow. That can't happen anywhere else. Well, no, I take that back. That can't happen in the savings account.
Right.
Well, we could be here all night talking about this, but we can't because I have to go and they have to go. They have stuff to do. Yeah. So listen, here's what I'm going to say. So this is the part of the show where I typically say, that, servant leadership is the highest quality of a leader. And Brent and Leon clearly are servant leaders. Can you tell? They have spent, I don't know, 45 minutes of their time with us tonight. And what I want to say is that they are always giving back. I don't even know how many lives Brent and Leon do a week. I can't keep up because they are always in the community. They're on LinkedIn. They're on Facebook. They're on Instagram. They have a podcast. They have a blog. It's the investors. I'm going to post, guys. I'll post.
It's IEApodcast.com. And just real quick, we got recognized by Amazon and they wanted to include us in their pilot, which was awesome.
Yes, they are all over the place. And this is something they started last year. And well, they officially started last year, but this is a brainchild from when they were like young men, teenagers. So what I'm going to say is that best friends since 9 years old. So what I'm going to say is this: relationships, partnerships, friendships. It's really cool when you see something that God like drops in you, and then it grows and it becomes something that you can then serve other people with. And like Brent said, he knows his purpose. He knows what God has called him to do. This is it right here. And I've watched them. I've only known Brent now. We've known each other since what, 2015?
3 years?
3 years now.
Yeah.
And this is who he is. And Leon is, they work together. Plus he's my Jamaican brother. High five. So, so the whole thing is they are serving the community in this environment, in this space. And I agree with them. It is unacceptable if your money is not your employee. Like I told you guys at the beginning last time, is that we need to get our act together, get our financial house in order. So guys, listen, servant leadership is the highest quality of any leader. And the servant leaders that I am always wanting to talk to are people who are self-aware, active listeners, compassionate, visionary, intuitive. You are healers. You look at the whole community builders, stewards, committed to other people's growth, and are persuasive. You guys are definitely committed to other people's growth. You are absolutely 100%, visionary. You have your fingers on the pulse of what's happening in the investment space. And I, for one, I am definitely grateful to know you guys. I love the fact that you're on Team Mine. I love it. Hello. And I just want to say kudos to you. And this is your opportunity to take a bow. I appreciate you. I see you. And I love the fact that you guys are doing the work that you're doing. And for something to be, for all the work that you're doing and to be recognized for it. And this is your opportunity to take a bow.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you
for extending your community to us.
Yes, you are welcome. And so for those of you out there who are wanting to invest, listen, I am not a financial expert, which is why I bring people on that are. I am not going to tell you to invest or do anything with Brent and Leon. That is your decision. If you are not investing yet, I've tried it. I'm not an expert. I'm not, this is who I'm going to do my stuff with. But I'm not telling you what to do, but you need to do something. Mm-hmm. I heard a story once about, I think John Maxwell told a story about 5 frogs. His father told me a story about 5 frogs sitting on a log. And the story is something like 5 of the frogs were sitting on the log. The 5 frogs, one of the frogs decided to jump off. How many frogs are left on the log? All of the frogs are still left on the log because they only decided. Nobody jumped off the log. So the truth is, deciding and actually doing the thing are 2 different things. So decisions, actions, results. You got to actually decide. And then you got to act. And then you need to jump. The levels for the membership, $17.99, which is $199 a year. $45.99 a month, which is $499 a year. And I think $449, which is a big that's another level. So that's up to you. Make a decision, act, do something. I'm saying it to you and speaking to myself. Okay? So I just wanted to say thank you, Brent. Thank you so much, Leon. I am so happy that you guys were able to come on tonight. Thank you so much for all you do for the community, and the iron sharpening community definitely appreciates you. Thank you for serving us, and thank you for all you do. Shout out to all of you who have been here. Oh, thank you, Nick. Nick says that cheers for IEA, life-changing help. Okay, so that is one of your people, and they appreciate all that you're doing. So thank you guys, and thank you everyone for joining us. Oh, by the way, it's Valentine's Day weekend.
Right.
Okay. Happy Valentine's Day. Monday's President's Day, I believe. So if you're out there with your Valentine, show them some love. Get your mama, your daddy, your significant other, whoever, some roses, flowers. Tell the people around you that you love them. So have a great weekend, everybody. I will see you guys again next week, Friday. And for everybody in my Change Your World community, I will see you guys on Thursday with my sister, Desiree Foster Collins. We are having an amazing time. Love you guys, and peace and blessing. And we're out.
All right.
Thank you.